And we're recording on Movie Club after a 2 week or well, I guess really a 1 week hiatus. We went
Yeah,
out
one
last week
week.
for the holiday. Not really the holiday, I guess, mainly because Eliza, how was your trip to Seattle?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Like we had the time of our life. We do you remember Clark? He was a ring bearer at the wedding.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so we went out with Clark and his girlfriend Paulina, and Clark has a little brother Henry, who's 8 years younger than him. Luke, sound familiar? Uh, and so Henry was just like showing us around town. It was so fun. We went to the Mariners opening day.
Oh, sweet.
We went to the Tulip Festival in northern Seattle or in northern Washington, which was insane. Like they said that the day that we went, it was 15 days worth of people there in one day. It was absolute
It's a
insanity.
lot. Yeah.
But it was really cool. And then my favorite part was we got this little electric boat and they let us take it out. Like you can just take the boat out on Lake Union. And we were like the only ones out there and you can drive it yourself and everything. I was terrible at driving it. I lost my privileges immediately. But it was a really, really good time. So
Nice.
10 out of 10. Loved it. I feel very recharged after going
How
and just in a
awesome.
better
Yeah.
mood.
So,
That's great.
a little bit of trivia. So, the baseball stadium, you probably didn't notice, but there's a hotel right next to the baseball stadium. And I think it's called the Silver Cloud or something like that. But that's where I used to stay when I was a consultant at Starbucks.
Really?
I would go in, stay in there on a Sunday, check in on a Sunday, and leave on a Friday every week for who knows, 3 or 4 months. Yeah.
Oh man, I
So,
love Seattle too. Like that would be such a great place to be going for work regularly.
yeah, it was, and for us, it was cool because Starbucks was just like 6 blocks. A lot of times, they had a car that would got like a shuttle that would come pick us up, but a lot of times I just walk. So
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. I love
Well,
that.
good,
It's
cool.
wonderful.
I
Well,
could
a
live in
little bit of
Seattle
trivia as
right
well. I've actually never been to Seattle, so
now. Oh, Luke, you should go. We should go together. Like it is so much fun. I think you'd really, really like
family trip?
Maybe
I think
Oh
yes.
no, I need to see you, Dad. I miss you so much. I feel like we haven't seen each other
Yeah,
in
who moves to Texas away from all their kids?
I do.
Who does that?
It's a
Me.
classic Louis Landa move. Where are none of my kids? That sounds great. Just kidding. Just kidding.
uh,
Yeah.
and
Well,
Luke, what?
maybe we should go visit Dad in Texas, Luke.
Yeah, we
Yes.
should we should go visit. We need to visit. I need to visit anyway. I need to find a day where I can get a 3-day weekend and just take it.
Yeah, you give me enough leeway or a lead time, and I'll be sure to have the time off. So
Cool.
Cool. How are
Um,
your weekends and weeks?
week has been great. I think doing a lot in the creative space recently. Twitch still going to the moon. Um, and yeah, I mean it's been like super nice. I've been helping all my friends because recently they've been like, so I've got friends that stream as well, and they've been asking me for like insight and help. So I've been helping them, and they're growing too now. So
dude,
it's good.
on your TikTok, it looks like you go up by 1,000 followers like every week. Every
Yeah,
time,
roughly
ev-
it's like every week.
you know what we should do? We should do every week that we do one of our reviews. We should do a number. I'll put a banner up as to how many how many followers you have on TikTok, so we can keep track of that every week. Because I'm serious. The first time we did this, I think you were at like just had gotten to 75,000, and I
Right.
think you're at 78 now.
Yeah, I'm almost 78. Almost. Well, I think yeah, almost
You're
78.
78.9. So if our
So
one follower out there could go
it's just
follow Luke on TikTok as
A
well,
hundred times.
100 times,
one
78.9.
thousand times.
Yeah, 1,000
Is
times.
it 1,000 times?
It would be
Wait,
900 times.
Oh yeah.
100 times.
78 point. Oh yeah, 100. Okay.
100
It's a
times.
good thing we're.
Okay, there we go. That's
It's a good
fast
thing.
math with the Landas.
It's a good thing we're we're reviewing movies and not doing math,
Like, thank God we're not accountants.
right? It's a damn good thing. But
Wow.
so around the house, we got all our trees cut down in the backyard.
Oh no, what
So
happened?
oh no, it was good. These were
Oh,
old trees that were
Like rotting
like
or whatever.
well, some of them were rotting, some of them were. So we have an interesting situation with our neighbors because their fence is actually not on the property line. So these trees like bordered kind of split the property line. So we wanted to say, "Hey, what do you want us to do?" And they're like, "No, get rid of them." So we got rid of most of them. There were some old, dead, I mean, really old, ratty trees along the back fence. And then
Mhm.
there was one that was next to the house that we really needed to get fixed, but or get cut down. But the problem is, we didn't feel like paying them to haul it off because that was going to be like another $500 or something.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
So we're out there chopping and lopping and cutting things into small pieces so the city comes by and picks them up. But my back a little sore. Uh, uh, but other than that,
It's
good.
gonna turn into muscle, dude.
You
I
should
guess.
charge people, like, to come over and chop wood and call it, like,
Yeah, and call it like the
lumbering.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Be
Yeah.
like who was that? Tom Sawyer?
Tom
Paint
Sawyer. Yeah.
painting he like
You
fooled the
show me how
Oh,
kid
to do it.
like
saying
Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer?
yeah, it was
Are you
like Tom.
thinking of Dennis the Menace?
No, I'm talking about Tom Sawyer. There's in that book, he is going on. They make him paint a fence, and
Uh-huh.
he pretends about how much fun it is. He's like, "Oh man, it's so much fun. Too bad you guys can't do it." And then the neighborhood kids can come paint the fence for him.
I think you're thinking of Dennis the Menace, but
Uh, okay, I'm sure Dennis the Menace probably copied it from Tom Sawyer, but I'm pretty sure Tom
this could
Sawyer was.
be, but in Tom's, like, when Mark Twain was alive, there wasn't paint. That hadn't been invented.
What?
It's a good thing we're not historians too. Math and history. We better get to some movies quick before we just embarrass the hell out of
So,
ourselves.
Rashomon.
Now back to Rashomon, which we haven't even started yet. But so let's get started. So this week's movie, thank God we have something, is Rashomon. The 1950 Akira Kurosawa movie, um, which basically put Japanese cinema on the
On the
map.
map. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
very influential movie in
very
cinema,
influential,
especially
and
for
Mm.
Japan.
I
uh,
was going to I was going to
it's
say the same. Yes,
okay. So I'll
absolutely.
give a little synopsis. Uh, it's it's a story about perception and how people view things, and it's the same story told from four. I mean, they say four counts.
Yeah.
But is it really 4 or is it 3? I mean, but anyway, so and what I love and the beauty of the story is that you're really left to make up your own mind. Because even the last version, once again, spoiler alerts, even the last version from the woodcutter, the commoner who was stealing all the baby stuff at the end kind of cast doubt on whether his story was true or not, and whether he was trying to cover stuff up himself. He stole the dagger. I'm assuming, right? So, um,
Mhm.
So I've got an interesting opinion on this movie so far. And
go for it.
I don't think it's a movie of perception. I think it's a movie about a bunch of liars. I think it's literally
Well,
it's not even like, oh, what's the perception? No, it's just showing like, hey, look at these guys. Look at how much they'll lie to make themselves look good.
well, that's an interesting point because how often are we like, oh, I do this meditation class, and in this month we're working on conscious communication. And one of the things that our instructor encouraged us to do is when somebody's talking to you, don't only listen to the words that they're saying, but listen to their hidden agenda. What are they trying to convince you of? What are they trying to get out of the conversation? Like, how are they trying to present themselves? And I think that this movie was a very interesting example of that, of how people are trying to frame up what happened, not so much so that the truth is exposed, but so that they are perceived the way that they would have wanted to be perceived.
Right, and that's exactly it. And
And
so, Luke, going to your point, there's an exact line in the movie. It says, it's human to lie. Most of the times we can't be honest with ourselves. So, and so
Yeah.
that kind of goes to what Eliza's saying too. But yes, so obviously these people had an agenda. I mean, don't we always kind of want to tell the story that makes us look the best? I
That
Yes.
is
mean,
true.
you know, oh yeah, he's a no good dad that cheats on his wives and can't stop drinking and wait, is that how I'm gonna introduce myself to people? Probably not, but
But you know what's
oh,
interesting too? Like, self-deprecation and how when I have an insecurity, how I'm so eager to poke fun at myself first so that I can be the first one to acknowledge, like, hey, I'm aware of this flaw and I want to maintain control of how others see me. So I'm going to take the power away of this thing I'm afraid of people seeing. Like, I'm going to shine a light on it so that I can stay in control. And I feel like there were elements of that, like people who had made mistakes or like how the situation would have impacted them and like how they framed truth and they told themselves a different version of it so that they could stay aligned with who they believe themselves to be or who they want to be more than who they really are.
got
Hmm.
it. Yeah, but so let's examine why did each person have such. I mean, so let's take them piece by piece. Why did the bandit tell the story the way he did? Why do you think he did?
I think he told the story the way he did, because he did it the way he was like, oh, she made me fight fight her husband, right? Effectively.
Mhm.
And I think that was just so he could get off the hook, right? Maybe a little bit,
Hmm.
Yeah, but
but
like
I don't
this
know.
is so this is something that I wanted to bring up because I've thought about this when we watched also the last duel, which came out this last year. I think it was Ridley Scott with Matt Damon, Jodie Comer, and Adam Driver. And it's very
Ooh.
similar. It happens in 3 acts. There's a rape that takes place, and it's like about finding the truth of what happened. And for me, I just think it's asinine that anyone could think like, "Oh, I'm gonna have like non-consensual sex with this woman, and it's gonna be so good that she's gonna
Hmm.
be glad that I raped her and then want
Yeah,
me to duel her husband." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it
it's
was heinous.
so it was hard for me even to think about that being a possible truth. Like, please, you know what I mean? And so it's just I don't know. I felt very distracted from being able to see like how he was trying to make an excuse from himself because it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What did you guys think though? Like, why do you think he did that? Or let
Obvi-
presented
so
that way?
what I found really hilarious was his version of the fight, and then the woodcutter's version of the fight. Are so he wanted to make himself out to. He wanted to make them both out to be great fighters, right?
Right.
Oh, we touch swords or cross swords 23 times, and nobody's ever done it more than 20 times with me, and blah 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 blah. But in the end,
You
they were
see him like
both.
scrambling around, yeah.
Yeah, he was shaking. He lost his knife in the mud or the dirt, couldn't get it, jumping around, throwing sand in the other guy's face and leaves and stuff. And neither one of them wanted to fight, really, but they had to, but I found that that's part of why the bandit told the story the way he did. Because once again, he couldn't say, "Oh, I was petrified. I was shaking walking up to him." I mean, I lost my sword. I was throwing dirt in his face. He can't tell that story because he's
Mhm.
a bandit with a reputation. So he had to embellish it the way he did.
It's int I'm so sorry, but a bandit with a reputation. Like, that's just an oxymoron for me a little bit, but it's I think that that was one of the big themes, and also a theme I feel like from Millennium Actress, which we watched for our last episode, and this idea of honor and this idea of knowing your place within society and not
Yeah.
like how important it can feel to follow those rules, whether or
Yes.
not it's the reality of what happened, like protecting honor in these stories was something that was that's something that was interesting to me about it.
Well,
Like,
doesn't she say at one point she was tired of this like basically saying I'm tired of this mundane life that I'm in. So if you want me, you need to kill this guy. Prove it.
mhm.
And so yeah, I mean and there is that point of, "Uh-oh, okay, I've been with 2 guys. This is not good.
Yeah.
Something's gotta give here."
God forbid, yeah. Mhm. I'm surprised she didn't kill herself. She should have, right?
Well,
What
that
a
was interesting
mistake.
because I know that because
Being that was sarcasm,
Yeah.
everyone. Just to make it very clear, that was sarcasm.
I do
Down with the patriarchy.
I do think how outlandish the like time frame that this took place and like what like yeah, thinking that someone should like kill themselves for that reason is crazy. It's crazy how like different the culture was back then
Mhm.
in that country, you know?
well,
And
but yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, even you see some of that even now in some cultures.
Hmm.
But yeah, even if you're raped, oh, the woman is to blame, you know, and
yeah, I think
it's her fault. And so that's why with the version where it was her version of it, the husband was just like I mean, she's saying, "Wait, he was just like staring at me, empty, like a
yeah.
void." So
Ugh, it's, like, so terrible, and I really do feel like with, The Last Duel, it was very similar when Jodie Comer's character described telling Matt Damon, like, "Oh, I was raped," and how it was to him he was so angry because that was Adam Driver's character not respecting his property. It wasn't about what
right,
had happened to his wife. It was that
mhm.
his wife was his property and Adam Driver's character had disrespected his property. Like it, and he was angry with her. Like he what and it just is such a reminder that like the difference like motivations and like how a certain situation brings like fear or anger or sadness or greed and like can pull all these different elements out based on what you feel like where you feel like you have the most to lose.
Yeah. Well, there was one part where the husband said, "I'm more worried about losing my horse than his wife," which okay. I mean,
Right.
Like
really?
good grief.
Yeah. So, so I guess we figured out why she told the story the way she did. Luke, what do you think about?
I actually think she was honest with her story. At least a little bit, more than the rest of them.
Which
But
yeah.
I
Well,
don't know. I think that everyone else had something to gain and she had nothing to lose.
So you think she killed him?
Maybe
that's
on
what's
the fence.
confusing because we never saw, right? She just walks
I
off.
don't I don't think well, I don't think so. I think that's where I think that's where it lines cuz you get two fights in two different stories. Two fights in two different stories. You get, the woodcutter and then you get the bandit and I would argue to say that it was
Well, in her
there's
story, she did. It did appear, by the telling of the story, that she stabbed him, and then she fainted, and then she said when she came up, she saw what had happened. Um, so I mean, I guess that is kind of her way of protecting her own honor. I get to tell the story that way, but
yeah.
which
Uh
which for
Do you
its
think
time was pretty interesting because she's saying, "I don't need a man to, protect my honor. I'll do it myself, and I'm not going to kill myself." Because she tried to give the dagger to her husband and say, "Kill me,"
yeah.
but he wouldn't do it. Or
But it
according to
also
her,
is yeah, it is also really confusing cuz you really have to kind of decipher like every part of it to figure out what the actual story is.
yeah,
Cuz yeah, you'll never know what the actual story is until I guess the writer of the script says, "Well, this was the right one."
right.
And that
or
is,
this is what happened.
I mean, and truly,
Yeah.
Well, the part I
hold on, I was trying to find my thought.
the part I like is that where we get these three stories, right? We get the even the dead guy's version from the medium,
From the
Yeah.
medium, yeah.
and
I
then
thought that was interesting.
it was very interesting. But then in the end, we get the woodcutter's version, and we think, oh, well, this is it. This is the real version. This is what this is. Now we're going to get the true facts of everything. But then even his version is thrown into question. So that I thought, from a storytelling, was brilliant.
Yeah.
Just brilliant to throw that in there at the
I did
end.
think that was a good wrench.
Yeah.
I was watching I listened to a YouTuber, watched a YouTube about it too, just to kind of see what other people were thinking. Oh, that's cool. And the guy who was doing the YouTube, he brought up this point about the forest being the only true objective observer, and that's the only witness that really would have had the truth in it, because humans, we have to filter it through anything you filter through me. We could all watch the same thing happen, and I would have a different version of it than both of you. And we'd be close in some ways because we grew up together. We're a family. We share values. We share perspectives. We've shared experiences. But still, like, even being men and women would be different, being different ages, like all of those other things. We project our experiences onto something. So we could all be looking at a red marble, just roll across the floor, and it would mean something completely different to each of us. And so humans, because we are human, there isn't a shared truth really ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we put so much on the truth.
Yeah.
And justice, like the way that we framed justice in our world is rooted in the truth, but that isn't even a thing you
It's
can arrive. It's not objective.
no.
And
There's no way to guarantee the truth, I feel like.
it blows my mind when I start thinking about it. It really starts to trip me out.
No, yeah, I used to think about that all the time. Like, I will never know what anyone else is thinking, so how could I trust anyone,
Mhm.
And then I guess you just gotta trust sometimes,
Yeah.
You gotta just hope that, secretly Louis Landa isn't a evil person on the inside, and he's pulling all the strings and lying to you. But I mean, I trust him. He's my father. I've known him for 100 years now.
100 years?
Yeah.
I'm
go
only
way
doing
back.
just so you guys know, I'm only doing these videos so later I can dub in different things that you guys say. So when you're really rich and famous, I can blackmail you.
But
Well, great. I've said a lot. I've given you a lot to work with. Isn't it?
Right? Got plenty of ammo.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Luke, that's really interesting. Like,
but
also,
I do trust Dad because I don't know. I feel like I'm a very trustworthy person in general with like everybody. I'm a very easy person to like take advantage of because I'm just too trustworthy. Because I just
But
take that gamble more often than
so
not.
I find it very interesting because I, I thought of both Millennium Actress and Waking Life during this because it does talk about how you view the world in both of them and what was real and what wasn't. Like in Millennium Actress, where they
hmm
going back in time, were they past lives, were they this? So it's always asking the questions. And then Waking Life was even that was all just, hey, what's real and what isn't. So I thought it was a very interesting connection, and even Paddington too, because you had to wonder how did all those clothes get pink when there was
right
only
now
one
there's
red sock and 3 washing machines.
always a mystery, isn't it? It's really a mystery. And I mean, Paddington 2 is probably the headiest of the films that we've watched.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
easily a one for the books.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
still not sure if he didn't steal the book,
Right?
but
Because we never actually saw.
you're right.
I would love a Rashomon Paddington edition, where
Rashomon Paddington.
Yeah. The
Paddington,
the
Paddington X
the
Rashomon.
they have the Rashomon effect, now it's the Paddington effect.
Yeah.
So,
Paddington effect.
speaking of the speaking of the Rashomon effect,
What
uh,
character would he be?
I Paddington? Oh,
Yeah,
he'd probably be
in Rashomon.
the woodcutter.
I
You think so?
guess,
He's a
but
nice guy
but
who
how many
believes in the good of everybody.
But
So,
okay, so can we talk about really quick? So the woodcutter observed this fight, this
correct.
murder, and rape.
No, because he said when he got there that
Oh,
she was laying down crying and he was on his knees. The bandit was on his knees
oh.
talking to her. So he didn't see the getting tied up or the rape or any of
Okay.
that. That he came in later. So,
Also, I
oh, go ahead.
I don't really understand why he had a story in the first place, because it seems like he showed up and there was a dead body already
But that
at the
was the
beginning.
story he gave to the court
Right.
because he didn't want to get involved. Remember, he keeps saying, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get involved. That's why he didn't tell his version to the court. The version he tells at the end, that's why he didn't tell it to the court.
And my thing is, are you a good person if you don't interfere when you see something like that happening?
Uh, I feel like self-preservation is a very interesting place to put morals, right? Because should you at all points risk your life for someone else? I think yes and no, right? Like if you can reasonably help someone without throwing your life in peril,
Mm-hmm.
sure. But
But was he going to stop those two guys from fighting? No.
no. Yeah.
I mean, he couldn't prevent the rape. That had already happened. I guess he could kind of hang out to make sure that she was okay after the fact. But evidently, she ran off, took care of everything. She was able to take care of
Yeah.
herself. So,
Yeah, it's just it's interesting to me. It's interesting to me to play around with that element.
so what's the interesting element, Eliza, when you talked about the forest being the only witness. And what's very interesting is that the woodcutter, who was also there, so he's cutting the forest down to eliminate the only witness.
Whoa.
Whoa!
Whoa,
Boom,
man.
boom, boom. Head
That
and head
shit's deep,
explosions.
bro.
But
Whoa.
Where was the forest at the stands, man?
So they talk about in some of the analysis of the movie, and Kurosawa does use light very effectively in this
Mm-hmm.
because they talks about as they're going through the forest and the light, shining down in like little flickers almost, and then she, oh, the first one was the bandits version saying that I wouldn't even have killed that guy if it hadn't have been for the wind. So the wind blows, he opens his eyes and he sees her riding by. So that's one thing. And then I guess with the other one was I guess she kind of stopped resisting when the sun came out and she's like, "Oh, what am I gonna do? Just don't fight anymore, I guess." But so
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot of, and the rain I thought was magnificent. It was, you know, shadowing everything. It was all like
Yeah.
concealing a way of concealing the truth, and it didn't cease until the very end when it's like, hey, you guys have all got the story now. It's up to you. So
Yeah.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't even think of it like that. I feel
That's
like a lot of like old movie making has just a lot of like subtle things that I miss a lot.
yeah, I miss it too. And
I don't think about it that much.
I think a lot of what we see now in movies is like very on the head, especially for action movies.
yeah,
And so it was a nice reminder to see a film that was trying to use all different elements and all different like
Yeah.
symbolism and like because they didn't have special effects necessarily to lean on so heavily or like the experience was maybe a little bit more like not subconscious, not on a subconscious level, but like a little bit I can't think of the right word. But do you guys understand what I'm trying to
Like
say?
Oh,
like almost like the vibe of it, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's like because that's how I felt. That's how I felt about it. Is I didn't think about it as like this like deep. Oh, you've got the truth. It was more like oh, it's done raining.
Hmm.
Nice.
Oh,
Like
and the rain
like
washes away.
it's the sun's out. That's the vibe I got.
So Kurosawa's one of his things is study great literature, and that's how you tell you learn how to tell stories by studying great literature. And one of the movies, or one of the writers, of course, that he's influenced by is Shakespeare, because his movie Ron is a retelling of King Lear, and A Throne of Blood is a
Oh.
retelling of Macbeth. And I kind of think maybe he has a loose reference to Macbeth with the dagger. In
Mhm.
Macbeth, Macbeth sees a dagger floating in the air, and he goes, "Is that a dagger I see, or is it my uh,
Penis.
can't be? Oh, because he can't. Is it something having to do with his conscious? Is his is he
Oh.
can't deal with his conscience?" And that's where the husband sees that, and he's like, "Well,
Huh.
I'm going to kill myself." And it's interesting because oh no, that was yeah. So it was interesting that it was coming through the medium. So another reference that I saw, and not from a Kurosawa, but that how they kept showing people looking at the trees as they're passing underneath the trees, and they
Right. Yeah,
shot
yeah.
up. There's a great movie by the Coen brothers called Miller's Crossing, and they use that tool in there a lot, where it's a
Really?
guy who's walking through the woods and he's looking up, and it's like, and for them, they're using it during a very serious part of the movie. It's not
Yeah.
to tell a passage of time. It's like this guy's about to have something
Mhm.
serious happen,
Do
and
something crazy.
Oh,
and
no.
he's trying to enjoy nature before the shit hits the fan.
Oh.
So anyway,
I wonder because when you were describing it, the thing that popped into my head was, the saying, like, you can't see the forest for the trees.
right, yeah,
Mhm.
and that could be, yeah, that's a
And so an element of that, I do think that there's a part of that that comes into this a bit in trying to find the truth. And
yes, very very good.
it's kind of there's still so much we don't even get. Sure, we're seeing it played out, we're seeing different versions. There's so many things that go into that. That context really matters.
Right.
Yes,
And you never get like you were saying earlier, Luke, you never have 100% of somebody else's context.
Mhm.
So trust is a choice.
Right.
right,
And it's an
exactly.
acceptance that it's like almost accepting that you have compatible versions of truth without
Mhm.
it being like literally we believe the exact same thing just happened.
Right, yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, that's one of the reasons I enjoy this movie. It's been a lesson to me that always try to get all sides of the story, because they're never going to be the same. You got to put the pieces together. It's like, I always like say, try to put it, like a mosaic, where it's a bunch of little tiles that make up an image. You got to get all those tiles in the right place to get the image you want.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
I
uh,
actually so I still think I don't know. I really like the movie. I think it's cool, but I just think I didn't think it was as deep as it was. I just thought it was a story about, you know, people lying.
yeah,
Cuz I mean it effectively is, right?
it is. Yes.
And I guess
Sorry.
art is interesting, right? Cuz you can like
Go on. What's
uh make something mean more than it is, and I feel like I don't know. It would be a stretch for me to be like, "Oh, it's all about perspective," when in reality it's just a bunch of people lying. It's just
Well,
a
that's your
trial.
truth, and you're
Yeah,
entitled to it.
that's true.
yeah.
To you.
To me, that's what I said for me.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you, Dad? What does the film mean to you?
To me, it's always meant, and still in rewatching it. And I remember I asked you, Eliza, and everybody, I think, because we're always rewatching movies that we've seen before, and does it hold up? And for me, it definitely does. Um, what it means is that don't take things at face value. Always question what the reality is, because there's always more than one version of the.
Right.
Everybody has their own truth, basically, is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. So, and no, who will know? Just the trees, unless they get cut down. Oh, like the ones in our backyard. Oh no.
Oh my God, Dad, you're the woodcutter.
Or
I am.
unless we create a culture of truth telling, and that way everyone tells the truth.
Didn't you ever see that movie Liar
I-
Liar with Drew Carey?
Huh?
I believe that was with
Oh,
Jim Carrey
Jim Carrey. Yeah,
or Drew Barrymore. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Jim Carrey. I don't want that, Luke. I do not want I do not want a society where everybody tells truth all the time.
Why?
Because
Then you have
get
exactly what people are
so
feeling.
hurt all the time. There's stuff you really don't want to know.
Why? I tell the truth as much as possible. As much as possible. The only time I ever lie is like when I'm trying to like surprise somebody. When I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not getting you a present.
Luke,
And then
can you imagine? And I'm not saying that this is true, but say there's somebody's kid, and because everybody's speaking truth, the parent is like, "Yeah, my life was so much better before I ever had you. I don't really think you're that interesting." You hear like they're at a party and they're like, "Yeah, my kid's fine. I mean, he's fine. Like he's really nothing special. Honestly, I don't enjoy his company, and if I could go back and erase him from the planet, yeah, I would."
Dang.
well, but then you
I'd never
get
say
someone
that.
saying, "Well, don't you think that might be your own shortcomings and not the kids?" And then they'd be like, "Oh, oh shoot, yeah."
Or maybe if they don't believe that, they'll be like, "No, it's the kid. The kid sucks."
Okay, so you guys, Luke just reminded me of defending your life when he goes, "Oh, I never lied to my dad." You never lied to your dad? Oh no, we had a pact. You never lied to your. How about I bring up 264 occasions?
That's
Oh
Oh
my
funny.
wow,
God, like right?
wow, there's a white
I
lie.
try not to, right? Like obviously like sometimes I can't escape the fact that I'm human and I lie, but as a like moral like standing, I try to just like off the cuff whatever is in my brain, you know? Like if I don't like someone, they know. They are very aware because I just kind of like give them that, like the okay. But I
Mm,
also try to like as many people as possible as well.
So
mm.
Eliza, in that book I sent you, there's a chapter. It's always tell the truth, or at least don't lie. I think I can't remember. It's either one or the other. But it's like, you don't have to. I mean, you can be honest, but sometimes you don't necessarily always have to be that way. You're like, okay, I'm just not gonna say. I'm just gonna like try to avoid giving my honest feedback on something or my honest opinion about your new glasses, or you know what I
Yeah,
mean. Those are nice. That's a nice set of frames. Looks like shit on you, but it's a nice set of frames. You know what I mean? I mean, so
yeah,
there are ways to, I guess, not lie.
yeah. There are. I think oftentimes omitting truths or finding creative truths is a way to just like remove unnecessary pain and discomfort.
And that I get that. Yes.
And I think that that's a valuable tool. And I want that tool at my disposal.
Sure.
And so, and I don't want to know. Like, so when I think about, also, Dad, you maybe might want to move your microphone a little closer to your mouth.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no.
Oh, so
Actually,
much
that's
better.
good. Yeah.
Okay.
way better.
Sorry.
But so when Luke, you're saying, oh, if there was a world where everybody told the truth all the time, I don't want to live in that because I don't want to
Think
know.
about how
like,
fast advance or society would advance though.
Are you? I completely disagree because I think that
Why?
inherently humans are selfish creatures. I don't think that that is automatically a bad thing.
Hmm.
But I think that we're very sensitive and it would be easy for us to get distracted by like just people telling you what they think of how you look and how you dress and what your idea, how they really feel about all that stuff. It could be, it's, you're going
All
to end
that
up in the
stuff is
same
like
position
so
where you are now.
inconsequential, though, right?
Yeah, but so there, Eliza, there's a difference between telling the truth and saying what's on your mind all the time.
Yeah, having like a culture of truth is like you don't have people want to know the truth and they want to tell the truth. So they want to know the right answer and they look for the right answers instead of just, oh, the loudest guy on TV said it. It must be true. I'm just going to go with that. We need people to like challenge for the truth.
Can you give me an example of when you think where we're not telling the truth and where it would benefit
Let's
people to get
use pretty much every piece of like news, right? Everyone tells the news a little bit different. It's the perspective that we saw in this like movie. You
Mhm.
have one side of the people who like will like cut a clip of a certain politician and be like, "Look, he doesn't know where he's at," or they'll cut a politician and be like, "Look, they're a racist," or something like that, right?
Mhm.
And what we need to get away from is people trying to like deceive others, and instead we need to have a culture of telling the truth.
I'm so sorry. I agree. The truth for me right now is that the cutest little baby squirrel just ran across the fence and it was adorable. And
But so hold it.
I don't
Let's
know.
no, we got to take a step back because didn't we just say like, but didn't we all just kind of agree 15 minutes ago that there is no absolute truth?
Yeah, that's where I
So
like
that's where you have to be change it from be honest to tell the I mean, I'm sorry, just because of the journalism background, I'm dealing with words here. But if we agree that there is no absolute truth, then we shouldn't even be debating on whether you're telling the truth or not. We should be debating on whether you're being honest, right? You
I
see the
mean,
distinction?
there is an absolute.
uh,
So I will say that there's not an absolute truth with humans, but there is an absolute truth with the universe, right?
Okay, science, there's science. Well, even science, but mathematics is about as close thing as you can get to an absolute, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
And don't ask us about mathematics. We've already proven that's not our subject.
I mean, the
but
thing like things happened, and like it's
it's I think that anything could be true. I think that there's infinite possibilities and there are infinite realities. And based on what choice and all of the other variables that exist in a moment of like having a choice or acting on it, like it's so hard to just get a clear grasp on one thing or another. Like, and I just don't think that truth is the most important thing. I don't.
Well, and so I guess from this is the journalist coming out of me is the whole difference between subjectivity and objectivity. Is it
Mhm.
possible in telling things to be totally objective? I think you talked about
No,
this before, Luke, right? I mean, we've already said that. So be
there's
as
no
objective
way.
as you can.
Yeah. Well, so I think you need to, objective and subjective like forms of looking at things. It depends on what you're looking at. Like, let's be realistic here. I'm not gonna objectively uh grade a painting, but I will objectively grade how well my oil was changed in my car, right?
But Luke, I think it's both, right? Like I mean, if you look at a painting, there's the actual technique,
Mhm.
right? Like there are elements to tell if this is technically like if a painting is objectively technically proficient. But
Right.
even if a painting is like checks all of those boxes, it still might not elicit a subjective emotional reaction or experience for you, the viewer, or for me. But And I don't think I don't think it makes art bad to rate it objectively at times. I think that there's a blend of the two things.
I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do with your art, right? Like, so
Yeah,
I
sure.
guess if I'm like trying to like make, you know, an Iron Man in 3D modeling software so it can be in a movie, that will be rated objectively because it has to look good for the viewer, right? But if I'm selling my own paintings and you want to rate it objectively, I would be like, buzz off. I painted this and this is what I like.
Mm. But what's interesting is with close enough portraits, and as all the viewers know, I think a lot of my close enoughies are listening now. Because I'm only hitting a 70% on the objective techniques, that's really where the magic is happening. So I believe the artist can withhold talent, can withhold skill, and inherently create the experience because it is not perfect.
So I've always been fascinated by the fact that we can get a red pen, right? Or let's say a red piece of paper, and all three of us can look at that same red piece of paper, but we will never really know what you're actually see. We see red, but I don't know how Eliza sees red. I don't know how Luke sees red. I know how I see red. And even though it's probably close enough for all of us,
Hmm.
I don't know if you're seeing it exactly the same way as I am.
Yeah, that blows my mind.
It
I
blows
thought
my
about
mind.
that. I thought about that a little bit, and I was like, so, what if we just, proved that your eyes have the same neural connection to your brain, and light's hitting those receptors the same way? I mean, I think we can deduce that they're like
Sure, but
fairly similar.
we don't know that. We don't know that we're seeing it the same.
That's true. I guess yeah, we
We
don't
know
know
we're seeing
anything,
we're using the same components of our body to see
dude.
that.
I
But
The world's fake. I'm actually a robot. I'm a projection of your consciousness.
mm,
Well,
I knew something was up.
that's what somebody said the other day, that one of the theories is that right now we're not alive at all. It's just we've died and this is that our life flashing before our eyes. And it feels like we're living, but we're not. We're just reviewing everything we already did.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, that
I
would
don't
suck.
like that version. I'm like, that's insane.
That
Like,
would suck.
I have to go through all
That
this
would suck
again.
so bad.
Even these
What the
really
hell?
boring parts, like why can't I skip the flu? Or why
We
can't
Why? Why was I cutting those freaking trees up yesterday? Damn it!
right? Yeah, like it's interesting. It's kind of wild to I don't I don't know. It trips me out. I love talking about these types of things because it's like, does this make any sense? Like, is this a simulation? Like, what's the point? Like, why is there so much war? Why is there so much pain? Like, why are people hurting each other and killing each other? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why?
No.
Like,
So it's power. Power does like crazy things to people.
What Kurosawa says that
it does.
the key to making movies is trying to understand why people can't get along.
And you get so a lot of the times I think like people in power just have like a very like weird mental illness where it's
Mm,
like, so hear me out, right? If you want to have like say over like millions of people, that is not something normal. That is weird. I think that is like super strange behavior because you really should only want the best for like your family and your friends, and wanting like to like control large swaths of people and like what they can and cannot do is just weird.
Yeah, but that comes down to, I mean, so that's been bred into us throughout thousands of
It's
years of
been
evolution.
built into
what
us. I don't
has?
think it's been bred.
Uh, No, it actually is, well, built, bred, however you want to put it. It's you start out in a small group, right? You start out with a small, and you realize, oh, well, we can just all kind of just gather together and see how things work. And Joe goes this way, and Pete goes that way, and Emma goes over there. And then they come back and say, "What'd you do?" "I don't know. I thought you were doing it." "No, I thought, somebody's got to kind of say, you go do this, you go do that, and I'll go do this. Do it in a small group. Then you get larger groups of people together. I mean, that's how tribes were formed. And then from
Mhm.
there, you get into, when you start to get into agriculture where people are staying in one place, that's how cities are formed. And then
Hmm.
people just can't be haphazard when you're trying to feed larger groups of people. So you have to say, okay, these people are going to the shamans are going to take care of this, and these guys are going to take care of that. So it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And
Mm.
yes, at some point, it does get out of control where there are people that are megalomaniacs. And yeah, and I think you're right to a certain extent that people who want to be in that much control, there is probably, yeah, I wouldn't want that much responsibility.
No, it's weird. It's
I
like
would never.
super
Yeah,
strange.
I
Yeah, I
never
got
wanted to be president ever.
trouble
No,
take
I
trouble
mean, I
taking.
think I did like when I was like like 5 or 10,
Yeah, but what a
something
thankless
like that.
job.
Yeah, what a
But yeah,
thankless.
what an awful job. Like, I mean, also when you just break it down, like the president's like the worst position possible because you're just like an evil person. But whatever.
Well, not all of
Well,
them
we
are
don't have to talk
evil.
about that.
I don't think they're all evil. I
Name
just think
one.
it's like Obama,
Uh,
Abraham
Disagree.
Lincoln.
The worst.
Mm.
The,
Abraham
Abraham
Lincoln's
Lincoln
a
was
good president. He's a good president.
He
Don't get me
waged
wrong,
he
but
waged he waged war on the South.
he's not without fault. No one's. Well, wait, hold on. That was not a bad thing.
Just kidding. That was a joke, people. That was a joke.
I think maybe we should edit this part out.
No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't. Keep it in. I want people to know that I think Abraham Lincoln is not without fault.
Well, no human is without fault. But you said that they were all evil.
Yeah, they're all pretty much.
And I disagree with that. I really don't
I
think.
think George Washington was all right, but he still owned slaves.
They have fake teeth.
Wooden teeth.
Yeah.
I
Cut down that cherry tree too. What about that shit?
I forgot about that. That was the original giving tree.
Crazy. That's insane.
I
That
know.
motherfucker.
Ugh. Just kidding. But Luke, I want to go back because you brought up the point of like rating art objectively and subjectively for a while. And I think I
Mhm.
always get excited and then I start to cut you off. And I don't really I don't feel like I'm really hearing you all the way. So I'd like to really understand kind of like what are you trying to say?
Oh, about what? What part?
So when you were saying like how you would rate art subjectively, but then when you get an oil change, it's objectively. Like, what is that different? Like, what makes it different for you, and why do you think that's an important distinction?
Well, I think it's more or less how like it serves a purpose, right? So if the purpose is served to make me happy, then it's rated subjectively. Like food, a lot of people will like die on the hill that Chick-fil-A is the best place ever, best fast food you
Mhm.
can get. And then a lot of people will say, I don't know, Church's has a better chicken sandwich because that's a subjective choice because it makes you happy on the inside. And
Mhm.
whatever makes you happy has to be rated subjectively. And sure, an oil change can make you happy, right? And you can rate that like however you want if you're that type of
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's like, did this get done correctly, timely, and cheap, right? And that's all you want.
Interesting.
So yeah, so to your point, Eliza, Lisa and I went to a art festival last week or last night, and we were walking by the booths, and they've got bowls and earrings and jewelry, and this one woman had some really large oil paintings, and they
Okay.
were very abstract. Um, but they're kind of like my brother's style. But with my brother's style, you always could see kind of what he was trying to do. What was being represented. With this woman's, I didn't necessarily see that. But Lisa was like, "Oh my God, I love these. These are so nice. What do you think?" And I was like, "Well,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see. I mean, like they're interesting, but I don't know what they're supposed to be. Well, they're just supposed to be art." I was like, "Okay, that's fine, but I appreciated her point of view on it, and actually she appreciated mine too. But it was so interesting because both of us had the exact opposite response.
Right.
Mm,
Um, so
mm.
anyway,
That's so it art really is one of those things. One of my favorite classes I've ever taken in my life was this random. I think it was like even I can't remember even what school it was a part of, but it was when I was in college in Boulder, and the class is called The Art of Interpretation.
mm,
And it was talking about how to look at a painting and really open yourself up, like what are the things you can check in on, because there's no such thing as having no reaction.
Hmm.
Even looking at something and feeling bored or like not like nothing happening to you is a reaction in and of itself, and it is experiencing art. So it's like, how do you break all of that down? What are you making fun of it? Do you think that's stupid?
no, no, I'm making fun of a Seinfeld scene where
Oh,
Jerry asks Elaine, "So what'd you do last night?" And she goes, "Nothing." She goes, and he goes, "No, no, really, what did you do?" She goes, "No, Jerry, I sat on my couch and stared at the paint on the wall." He goes, "Oh, you really did do nothing,"
that's so
which I
funny.
think is funny because people say I didn't do anything, but really, you must have done. So no, I really didn't do anything. I just
Yeah,
sat
yeah.
around and did
That's
nothing.
funny.
Oh,
But
we have a special guest.
oh,
Is it Chuck?
hello. Put him
Oh,
on. Oh,
there he goes.
okay. There he is back again.
Because you can see you coming on the other, like
Hi.
okay,
Um,
bye. Yeah, but and that's why I like the idea of this story of having all of these different versions to interpret, because you can come to a different conclusion, and maybe is that what the whole thing is really about? Like all of the different facets to one story or one experience.
so let's start. I don't know. Is it worth trying to figure out which one we all think is the most accurate?
I think they're all well. Okay, we can do that if you want. But I think I already know. I
Oh,
think I already said that. Yeah.
Yeah, you said the wife.
Hmm.
and I can kind of see that because the only reason that I kind of have trouble with that one is because the woodcutter said no, it was clearly a sword that. Well, he saw it. He saw what killed the
Or
guy.
did he?
Well, that's a.
Or
But
did
yeah,
he just say I saw it to sound cool?
maybe.
Hmm.
The feminist in me wants to pick the woman, right? And be
I
like, well,
agree.
her
Yeah.
truth. But then also, I trust the medium as well. No, you don't think so?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Psychic mediums are fake. We can't
Oh,
trust them.
I disagree. I think that maybe is one of the most trustworthy sources.
Really?
Well, and I do like the part where the guy said, the dead don't lie. And
Right.
the other guy goes, really? Well, why not? Well, they got nothing to
You
lie
don't
about.
think? Hold on. Actually, I got something. I got something. You don't think the psychic medium wants to, use her, i- increase her influence as a psychic medium?
Well, maybe, but what does she know about the story? I mean, maybe they kept her in the dark.
Yeah, like where is she getting all of this information?
Sounds like
Like
she heard. Didn't she hear like the rest of the stories beforehand?
We don't know that. Never was exposed in the story.
I didn't think she had, but if she knew those stories, then that's definitely going to impact like how I see that.
Right.
I like the woodcutter's version, and especially now that Eliza's brought that whole Forrest being the only thing that knows the truth, because he cut the truth out. He's the woodcutter. He brings the truth back.
Hmm.
So that's where I am with
The
that one.
woodcutter also takes the trees and
Cuts them down.
manipulates them to turn them into something else that serves the woodcutter.
Well, yeah.
So
So
if you
yes, I see that.
tug
I
on
see
that
how.
thread, and it's probably like a little bit of all of them is true and a little bit of all of them is a lie.
I
Like
think so too. Yeah, I think so too.
And that's kind of the point. And it's so funny. I've been going to therapy, and my therapist was saying, often people, she's like, you should consider going with your husband, because you can get it can be so much more beneficial to do couples therapy than individual therapy sometimes, because you have your version, and then you also have somebody who sees you all the time, lives with you, and can provide that other side that you don't see.
I
Because
actually. Oh
what?
no! Keep going. Keep going.
I was just going to say, how many times have you seen yourself in a video and you've been like, oh my God, that's what I look like? That's what I
Yeah.
sound like? Like, that's
Yeah.
what? Like, it's crazy.
Every day.
We're so far away from how we
Every
are
day, right?
actually
Every
in the
week.
world,
Oh
you
my
know?
God, my face that red?
Even on this, remember the first time we did this,
Yeah.
and it flips your face, and how uncomfortable it made me, because I was like, I can't. That is not what I look like. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so
You were like, I don't know about this StreamYard business.
it just made, because I always think I'm so symmetrical, and then to see this, I'm like, oh, I am not.
Yeah, flip face is like the worst.
I
You know
am
what's crazy? Is that like you can see it right here that this side is a little bit
yeah, same,
chunkier, and then this side is slim. And so I see like my like entire like mass of my face go wop 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 wop
Yeah,
like
it's
crazy.
crazy, and you're
Oh,
like, oh my
But
God,
what I
I
was gonna
have so
say
go
much
ahead.
room.
is I was gonna say how valuable other perspectives are, and I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think for a long time I was trying to like do streaming on my own, right? And it took a little bit of help from my friends for me to realize a lot of my mistakes, and I kind of try to keep like an open path for criticism everywhere with my friends.
Feedback, and yeah.
And I think my friends are like probably like the most honest people in my life.
Like having your closet hanging closed in the background.
You're not my friend.
Oh, okay.
You're
Well,
my
it's not
father.
my friend, my father. Uh,
Dad, do you remember after one of my basketball practices, and we were at Qdoba over on Colorado and Mississippi, and you're like, I'm not your dad. Call me Lewis. I want to be your friend. I'm not going to be a good dad, but I'll be your friend.
yeah,
So
I do.
full circle moment.
Full circle moment. Hey, so a couple of cultural things, pop culture. So everybody loves Raymond did a version of Rashomon.
Oh my God, I love Everybody
Yeah,
Loves Raymond.
and it's called a can opener. If you ever want to see it, you should watch it. I'm sure you can find it somewhere.
Oh my God, I'm
And
totally
it,
gonna watch that. That's so
it's
funny.
where Raymond's wife buys a new can opener, and it's all the fight that happens based because of it, and everybody's got these different versions
Deborah.
of what happened. That was a good one.
That's
And
really
then The
funny.
Simpsons, when they're going to Japan, they have an episode where they're flying to Japan, and Homer's all like pissed off about going to Japan, and Marge says to him, "Come on, Homer, Japan will be fun. You liked Rashomon," and he goes, "That's not how I remember it."
That's
Oh my
funny.
God,
That's funny.
how The Simpsons is so fun. Like how
That's really good.
Ah!
how
Yeah.
do they do that?
Well, they're smart. They read a lot. I mean,
It's
just like
amazing. It's
just like
really it's The Simpsons is so good.
just like
I really liked this. This
Yeah,
was an interesting conversation.
I agree.
Yeah.
What are you guys ratings? How you rate this one?
just because. Well, I'll go first. I should go last, I guess, but I'm getting it an 8.5. Mainly because it's not even my favorite Kurosawa movie, but I just think the significance of the storytelling, things that he did in how the story was presented. Yeah, so I loved it.
Yeah, I would say for me it was definitely a thumbs up because it was interesting. I think I'm not quite sure what number to give it particularly. I appreciated it. I think I appreciated it more than I really enjoyed it.
Right. Okay.
So it's I'd say maybe like a 6.9.
69. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Luke. What are you going to give it? A
7.2.
4.2?
So I'm gonna give it 2 separate ratings.
Okay.
So this is me in 1950. That movie was a slam dunk. That movie was like a 9 out of 10. I loved that movie.
Wow.
And this is 2022. It was a good movie, but I mean the concepts are really old, so they've done the mind bending, stuff way harder. They've gone way harder. So I give it a like a 6.8.
It's
Right
one
on.
of those things where if I wish I would have
Wish I'd
had
seen it at the time.
the luxury of seeing this as the first example of this storytelling style.
Yeah.
Because it's cool to see it and how this was the origin of, and how it has influenced so many things. But like you're saying, Luke, it's less impactful because we've seen this done.
Yeah, in comparison to the whole like scope of art that we've got, there's so much stuff that's
But
like,
a very, very fascinating
Mhm.
storytelling
Well,
approach.
and I'd be interesting to look up the Last Duel to find out if that was based on this
It has
somewhat.
to. Did you watch the
No,
last
I
one?
haven't watched it yet.
I
Oh
haven't
my
seen it.
gosh. Okay, well, if you watch it, then clear as day. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I
And
mean,
and I could see that influencing your rating of this movie coming, one right on the heels of the other. So
yeah. And that one was, I mean, I love everybody who was in that movie. And it was intense and it was
in English.
in English. Yeah. And it comes down to a duel. It's truly like a fight to the death over this one. It's so the parallels are so
Interesting.
obvious. But what's interesting, the last duel, it's based on a true story. Like that is something that happened
Really?
in Paris all those
Wow.
years ago. So like that is real. And it's interesting to see it woven together. And it's
Right.
also interesting to think I'd love to see something like a Rashomon with some sort of sexual assault, rape, murder, whatever in today's age, and seeing how that changes now after the Me Too movement, after I think society is working really hard to make it safer for women to speak up and tell their truth about these things, but
Mhm.
still it's not perfect.
It's not
And
perfect. Yeah,
still
no.
there's a lot of places where you know there you could get yourself into trouble, or men can even get into trouble now by being
Like,
accused of things maybe they didn't do. And then maybe,
yeah.
like all of
Yeah.
that. So I think that that's I would totally watch another version of this in today's.
So with that said, what's the rewatchability score on this?
On this,
Yeah.
so I'll give it at least a high rewatchability score because I had to watch it twice.
Hmm.
So you
'Cause
already
the,
have
the
rewatched it.
first time,
Wow.
the first time I saw them fight, so I was in and out the first time I watched it, and I was like, why did they fight twice? Did I miss something? And I think,
Yeah, you did.
and so
Why did
I
they
like
fight?
I
Huh.
like restarted it again. I was like, okay, I gotta pay attention to it this
It's
time.
like there's multiple versions of the story.
I was
Is
like,
this
this
just the same thing
story
over
is
and over?
bouncing around.
Is this Groundhog Day?
It's the same thing.
Also Rashomon inspired.
That's true.
But the second time it made 100% sense. I was like, oh well.
Yeah, definitely rewatchability. I think it would be interesting. One of the things I'm looking forward to when Chuck and I have kids is like using movies as a thing to do as a family. And it would be interesting to have this be maybe one of their first. I mean, they'll have to be grown up a little bit more, obviously, but maybe what if this is kind of the first way that they see the style? Who knows? Yeah, I'll definitely watch it again, but I'd be okay taking my time
Okay.
between now and when I watch it again.
Right on.
What do we have
Alright.
coming up for next week, Lukey?
Who's oh, it's my turn?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna use a movie that my friend has recommended, and I have never seen, so this is gonna be my first time seeing it as well.
Cool.
It's gonna be called Memories of Murder.
Wow, it sounds like Rashomon to me.
Right?
It's from Dad's favorite director of his favorite movie, Parasite.
Oh no, not that.
Could we? I feel like we've been watching a lot of Asian films.
It's true. It's
Do
true.
you think we could maybe break it up a little after
Yeah,
you
this
know what?
one?
No, it's his pick. He can pick whatever he wants.
I'll choose
You know what?
something
You're
else.
right. You're right.
I can see something else though.
No. Let's do
I
this
just
one.
didn't even
Let's
think about that it was my turn.
let's watch a trailer and then
Okay. Yeah, let's watch the trailer.
Oh,
Memories of
guys,
Murder.
we can see this on Hulu.
Memories of Murder?
Uh-huh.
Oh, sweet.
Do you want me to share my screen? Do you want me to pull up the trailer? Or are you doing it, Dad?
I'm doing it.
Don't forget to mute your mic. Or maybe you don't need to. I don't know.
이 사람 보는 눈은 있잖아.
What happened? Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Boo.
근데 서울에서도 이런 거 자주 보나? 전혀.
사건 날 전부 비가 왔어요. 죽은 여자가 빨간 옷을 입고 있었어요.
목격자가 있나? 그렇다고 증거가 있나?
범인이 워낙 빈틈이었고요.
자신 있나? 준비됐나? 그렇게 못해서 어떡해? 형사가.
뭐 사람을 그렇게 못 알아봐서 어떻게? 형사가.
오늘 밤에요. 오늘은 당장 부서지고 맙니다. 그래도 내 눈가는 못 속여요. 내 보면 티가 나.
Cool.
Little crime
was-
drama type deal.
Yeah, that's cool. I honestly, that got me really pumped. I'm excited to watch that.
Sorry, sorry, it's another foreign film, but
It's okay.
I mean, foreign films are like, I wouldn't say a majority of cinema, but
Oh,
a large
yeah.
portion of it.
You're muted if you're trying to talk to us, Dad. Yeah, I mean, let's explore it. Let's do it. I'm up next. I'm sure I
Just
Paddington
kidding.
3.
Paddington 3.
Did you know I'm gonna be in Paddington 3? I actually got a call from my agent yesterday.
Shut up.
They said, yeah, you can invite Eliza on set. You can meet Paddington. Apparently, it's a real guy. He's a real guy.
Can you imagine?
That
if
hair-
it's
It's not even
real?
CGI.
That hair was so real. The fur.
It's him.
It is.
And then, okay, cool. Well, hell yeah. I'm really excited to watch that.
Okay. Memories of Me. I'm all for it.
Memories of Murder.
Memories of
Memories-
Murder. Oh yeah. That's well, I hated that Memories of Me, but Dad, it was Memories of Murder.
That's so funny.
All right. So I guess that's gonna wrap it up for this week. We'll see you guys next week. One of us needs to get the movie to we just posted.
Well, yeah, I'll just tell.
Tell Couscous, just let him
Couscous.
know on the movie club text tag that we have going on.
Yeah.
This should be up momentarily. Luke, I'm gonna I'm gonna download the audio file for this one also and see how big that file is, and then maybe I can get that to you.
Okay. Cool.
All right, folks.